Hello, after making a quick tips video, I was asked to make an advanced one instead. So logically, I did. Some of these are hard to explain, so bear with me. So let's start the video. Low sensitivity is probably the first combination I would do. That is because you can be way more accurate with low sensitivity than a high one, and your reliability with the low sensitivity will be higher because you have so much more room for errors. There are of course limiting factors like the amount of desk space you have and a reasonable amount of mouse movement for a 180-degree turn. But with most of the grips people use nowadays, you can easily play with a low sensitivity and be somewhat comfortable, as long as you use your whole hand and not just the wrist to aim. In my opinion, wrist should be used for adjustment or precision aiming only, and the whole hand should be used for flicks that are more than 90 degrees or 45 degrees, depending on how low your sensitivity is. This one is a little bit easy to use, but not very useful in cases where your team is just absolutely refusing to go for the objective. It is to check your minimap and zooming in to see where your teammates are actually positioned at. So you can basically position yourself better so as to not have yourself cut off by an enemy that surprises you. The next one is pretty self-explanatory, and it is, of course, crosshair placement. If you look at some newer players, you can see that the reticle is not exactly on the head level, and not aiming near corners. Head level is pretty easy to fix once you start being aware of it, but pre-aiming corners will come with time. Also, knowing your reaction helps with crosshair placement because you can minimize the amount of mouse movement needed in case the enemy peeks you, and that's largely dependent on how good of a reaction you have. Anticipating movement based on the gun usage of your opponent can help you preempt the movement of the said opponent. So if your opponent has a traditional LMG, most of the times they will crouch or stand to retaliate. Submachine gun users will most likely strafe or hip fire while standing. SAs can do strafing, but more often than not standing or crouching is what they are gonna use. Assault rifles can do all three of those, but mostly it's light strafe for standing shooting, and crouching is not that popular. Bolt actions are always standing or crouch into a movement after shot, so keep that in mind. So with that knowledge you can more often than not preempt your opponent's movement, and if they don't do what you expect, then you can react to it as before. This one is again about awareness, and I noticed myself while I'm streaming that it's kinda hard to keep my awareness up, especially when I'm chatting around and stuff like that. When that happens, I try to do a checklist in my head of if I'm safe, reloaded, full HP, to check my sides and then have a glance at my back. That is especially true when going around forests and open areas, or for instance bushlines. But not so applicable in objectives where you have certain positions people will sit at. So here we go, another round of tips for you. Let me know if you thought that these sucked or were good, or if you think you have another pro tip, put it down in the comments. Also, if I missed something, that is also I would like to know in the comments box. So yeah, see you in the next one, guys.